I've already made a video which shows the photo in the Epstein files of Michael Jackson is a different photo from the one on public record that was on Getty Images, and that Michael Jackson was good friends and associate with friends of Jeffrey Epstein. Chris Tucker, who's pictured in the Epstein files with Ghislaine Maxwell and underage girls, and was on 11 flight logs, and Brett Ratner. He has also been photographed visiting the island of another convicted sex trafficker and pedo, Peter Nygaard, who the FBI had wanted to question, formerly Prince Andrew, about. I also showed how Michael Jackson's former bodyguard lied about Jackson visiting Epstein and not knowing who he was, given the evidence from an employee and victim of Epstein testifying to meeting Michael Jackson, which could not have been while he was house hunting at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. So in this video, I'm going to show more evidence that Michael Jackson was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. I had talked about his close relationship to Brett Ratner and how Brett Ratner was friends with Epstein. Well, I didn't realise how close they were. And shout out to the Chill Goblin on YouTube, who seems to be the only other person I can find on here who's really looked into this. So he did a deep dive into Brett Ratner, and Ratner is in the Epstein files pictured in Epstein's New York house with Jean-Luc with his top off. So he looked at some of the other files and noticed that there were multiple photos of Brett Ratner and Jean-Luc Brunel on the couch with Jeffrey Epstein, probably taken with Epstein's camera, with faces of redacted girls we can assume are victims. And there are so many pictures taken at this same occasion at Jeffrey Epstein's house. So Jean-Luc Brunel was a paedophile, and when the law finally caught up with him and he was arrested, he was found hanged in his cell in 2022. Ginnia Roberts-Giuffre describes being trafficked to him by Epstein, and she was going to testify against him at his trial. There is footage of Jean-Luc Brunel in the 90s at his model agency Karen Models, looking at models as young as 30 who were trying to sign up to his agency.
Quel âge tu as, toi, alors?
J'ai 13 ans.
We know that Jean-Luc was a model agent that ran a modelling agency. He was accused for years of harassing and molesting girls and was using the agency as a sex trafficking operation, but nothing was ever done about it.
But one man Eileen Ford does associate with in Paris is this man, the head of Karen Models, one of the largest and most prestigious agencies in the country. His name is Jean-Luc Brunel. The girls told us Brunel is very careful about the models who are under the protection of Eileen Ford. But Courtney and Sherry, who are not Ford models, told us about the dinners he invites his other girls to attend with his male friends.
It's a meat market. You are there for the purpose of somebody wanting to take you home to bed. He is acting as a matchmaker. He's got the agency, he's got the girls. His friends say, oh, Jean-Luc, I'd like to meet some girls, or we're having a party tonight. Can you bring some girls?
And what happens if you say no?
You don't work.
You've actually known, be very careful on this, you actually have known that he has made someone pay a professional penalty for saying no.
I know, I paid a penalty for saying no. No. I was personally proposed to by himself, Jean-Luc, and I said, no way. I laughed in his face, and I had no more appointments, and I never worked.
Jeffrey Epstein financed a new model agency he started called MC2, and according to court documents, their accountant testified that this was a front for a trafficking operation where girls were brought illegally into the country and made to sleep with men. In some cases, if they said no, they would be drugged, which is ironic given that Virginia Giuffre said in her book Jeffrey didn't want her around when she had a problem with substances. Jean-Luc Brunel was a heavy coke user. As it looks like, so was his friend Brett Ratner. He always looks wired in photos. And we know Michael Jackson had a serious substance addiction problem for years. So now, in my last video, I found that Michael Jackson was staying with a man called Al Malnick in Florida. near Palm Beach, but actually in a place called Boca Raton. And this was apparently the man who'd previously worked with the mafia, helping him get his finances in some kind of order when he was facing massive legal debts and was fighting over his catalogue ownership with Sony Records. And Al Malnick was with Michael Jackson and Brett Ratner and Chris Tucker at the Palm Beach Film Festival in 2003, where this picture was taken. Well, I now know Brett Ratner thought of Al Malnick as a father. Apparently, he knew his grandparents well, and Brett Ratner was good friends with his son. Al Malnick calls him family on his own website, and there's a lot of pictures of them all together. And what's interesting is Michael Jackson attended a 50th birthday party of a fashion marketeer called Christian Audigier, who was known for popularizing the Ed Hardy and Von Dutch brand in the early 2000s, even though it was designed by a Nazi. So come to find out, Christian Audigier sponsored a Karen Models party in a nightclub in Paris. And they've even used a Michael Jackson song in this promotional video for it.
Music control.
Al Malnick made a claim for Michael Jackson's estate when he passed away and said he was made executor of his will in 2004. And then there's these pictures made public by P. Diddy of Brett Ratner and Michael Jackson at Diddy's party, which was also attended by Ron Burkle, a good friend of Bill Clinton and billionaire who was P. Diddy's investor in his clothing brand Sean John and godfather to his kid. Ron Burkle also purchased the derelict Neverland ranch where Michael Jackson used to live and allegedly abused children. So apparently after this weekend with P. Diddy, Brett Ratner was shown sitting next to Al Malnick when he was dating Serena Williams, and she had a reality show on an episode which has since been wiped from the internet. But I'd already found another picture of them at his restaurant in Palm Beach, which I think is where Serena Williams is from. So I have to credit this guy, Chill Goblin, for showing it in his live stream.
ABC Family presents an all-new Venus and Serena for real.
Yeah, you know
No, I was going to play, but Zena didn't want me to because she didn't want me to. Zena, the captain.
Why?
Because it would be bad for her. She didn't want me to jeopardize my future this year.
With your ankle?
Yeah. Brett and I have been dating for a while, but it's kind of hard because we live so far apart that we hardly ever get to see each other. What are you doing in New York for 7 days?
Hanging out with Puffy and Jay-Z and JD.
You didn't care about me. You wanted to be in New York for 7 days.
Williams has got talents on the run.
Brett, can you stop this? Can you watch my sister play, please?
I can't help noticing he has got the same outfit on as in this picture.
You're being very disturbing. I've been home for 3 weeks, and I've asked you nicely and kindly not to come for 24 hours. You'd come on Saturday and you'd leave on Sunday, and I'm sorry, but that's just not enough for me. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I can understand 2 months, but it's been since July.
It's 4-0 Williams. She's starting to look like her old self.
Let's go, Venus!
Sexy legs! Sexy legs!
Killer!
Why do you want to be my girlfriend?
I don't want to be. I want to see other people. Like you.
We have an open relationship.
No, we don't have a relationship. It's too bad it didn't work out between us.
Is this the breakup episode? They don't do this on Nick and Jessica's show. Do they kiss on that show?
Brett Ratner was accused of molesting and assaulting multiple women going back to the 1990s. One of the assaults was involving Russell Simmons, who we've seen him hanging out with, and he also has multiple allegations of sexual assault. He's also been accused of being homophobic, making anti-gay comments, and outing a trans gay teenage actress that was on one of his movies. He tried to humiliate an actress called Olivia Nunn by trying to publicly shame her and lying that they'd had sex when she'd actually rejected his advances on the set of his movie, and that he'd pleasured himself in front of her. In 2011, because of the backlash of these accusations, he was actually cancelled from producing the Oscars, and by 2018 he'd lost his contract deal with Warner Brothers. Now, this is one of Michael Jackson's best friends. Michael Jackson obviously died in 2009, but Brett Ratner's career hasn't ended, sadly. There are organisations which will support men like this, like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. Although Ratner is Cuban, he was honoured by the Anti-Defamation League, the organisation that's meant to stand against anti-Semitism, even though they go after Jewish people for being anti-Jewish, at a dinner in 2015, hosted by, would you believe it, Justin Baldoni, which raised nearly $1 million to support the ADL's mission to fight bigotry, prejudice, and anti-Semitism. Funny how someone who has actually committed hate crimes, and he's clearly been friends and hanging out with at least 3 known pedophiles, is helping to raise $1 million for an anti-hate organisation run by billionaires. Another ADL ambassador is Epstein's lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, who wants to have convicted sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell released from prison, and leads the anti-Me Too movement and accuses Epstein's victims of being liars. Brett Ratner posted on his Instagram that they were special guests of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at a UN dinner in New York. He apparently emigrated to Israel in 2023 and lives next door to Netanyahu. So these are the people that want to kill anyone that lives in Palestine so they can take ownership of the land. And then anyone who speaks out about it is called a terrorist. It's crazy that as an immigrant he wants to support people like Donald Trump. With his current ICE regime going on, he has just directed a movie promoting Donald Trump's wife, Melania Trump. Really wild that Donald Trump is advocating for someone whose photo is in the Epstein files. And now Donald Trump is saying he should be making Rush Hour 4. So again, I say anyone who is saying Michael Jackson has nothing to do with Epstein, he didn't know who he was, it can't be true, first of all, and secondly, how did Epstein get those pictures of him and who took them? So yeah, anyone putting out false information is covering for a child abuser.